Welcome back to Product X, where we decode the world's most cutting-edge tech and capital trends. I'm Rena. Today we're diving into something pretty historic. Scout AI just closed the largest Series A in US defense tech history, a massive $100 million round. And here's the wild part. This company is only 18 months old, has just 34 employees, and they don't build a single drone or tank. They build the AI brain. So Vivian, Nolan, welcome to the show. Can you each give us a quick intro?
Hey, Rena, thanks for having me. I'm Vivian Liu, a veteran angel investor at Pre-Angel Fund, and I've been tracking defense tech investments for over a decade now.
Hey everyone, I'm Nolan, former big tech architect here. Spent years building distributed systems at scale, and now I dig into the hardcore engineering behind military AI. Pretty fascinating stuff.
So, here's the question that's been bugging me. Anduril is already a $61 billion giant, and they're hardware heavy. But Scout AI just got $100 million for pure software. No factories, no supply chains. Why is capital so excited about this?
Honestly, it's simple. The market finally woke up to the fact that hardware is a cash-guzzling monster. I watched Anduril burn through enormous capital building arsenal, and expanding production lines. Meanwhile, Scout AI comes in and says, "We don't need any of that. We own the brain, not the body." And they walked away with an $11 million DoD contract in 18 months, with a team smaller than most startup marketing departments. That's insane contract velocity. The VCs see it. They're betting on the pricing power of owning the reasoning layer, the part of warfare that actually makes all that hardware useful.
Yeah, and from the engineering side, that's exactly why this is a different animal. When you own the AI orchestration layer, you're not competing on manufacturing. You're competing on how fast you can translate a commander's intent into action across hundreds of disconnected nodes. That's a software problem, not a foundry problem. And software, as we know, scales very differently than steel.
Right. So, let's get into the tech because this is where it gets really interesting. Scout AI's core product is this foundational model called Fury and something called the Aux Master Control System. Nolan, walk us through. How does this multi-agent thing actually work in a combat environment where everything's jammed and disconnected?
Great question. So here's the nightmare scenario. You're in a contested environment, GPS is getting jammed, comms are spotty, and you need a swarm of drones to coordinate an attack. Traditional systems would need every drone phoning home to a central server, which is basically impossible when someone's actively jamming you. What Scout built is essentially edge-native AI that doesn't need the cloud. Fury is compressed and optimized to run directly on edge computing boards inside each vehicle. And Aux handles the orchestration. When a commander says blockade zone A, Aux doesn't issue rigid commands. Instead, it Z-Hor-8s these autonomous agents that essentially meet with each other locally, share what they see, and self-organize the attack. It's like swarm intelligence meets real-time tactical decision-making, all without a central brain that can be knocked out.
And that ties directly to their competitive moat. I want to add something here. When I look at their contract pipeline, the speed at which they're converting DoD relationships into actual deals is remarkable. Part of it is technical, but a big part is positioning. A lot of Silicon Valley AI shops have cultural issues with defense work. Employee pushback, that whole debate. Scout AI essentially said from day one, "We're a defense company. This is who we are." That eliminates a lot of the friction when you're bidding on DIU contracts. They're not fighting a cultural battle inside their own walls while trying to close a Pentagon deal.
That's a fair point. And honestly, from the tech side, that clarity helps them attract the kind of engineers who actually want to work on hard physical AI problems, not just fine-tuning chatbots. When you're building something that literally has to work in a GPS-denied environment, you're not going to attract the same crowd as a consumer AI company.
Okay, So we've got the technical moat, we've got the positioning, but what's the actual business challenge here? Because at the end of the day, even the smartest AI brain needs to ride on someone else's missile, someone else's radar. How do they navigate that?
That's the tensest part of their growth story. Look, the defense industrial base is not a monolith. You've got Lockheed's, Raytheon's, all these legacy players who control the hardware layer. And they're not necessarily thrilled about letting a 3-4-person startup from Sunnyvale become the Windows of their ecosystem. The real challenge is getting those companies to open up their low-level APIs and let Scout's model run the show. It's a sales and partnership problem as much as a technical one. And with $100 million in the bank, they now have the runway to play the long game on that.
I'd push back a little there, though. The technical reality is actually on their side in this argument. Once you demonstrate that your multi-agent coordination works, and they've apparently already run end-to-end autonomous simulations, the hardware vendors start to look at this as a competitive advantage. Our drones run Scout's brain becomes a selling point. It's similar to how Android didn't ask permission from Nokia to become the dominant OS. The value proposition basically forces adoption once the tech is proven.
Fair point. And honestly, that's why the funding matters so much. They need that runway to prove the tech at scale before the hardware giants decide to build it themselves.
So let's talk about the end game. We've got $100 million now. What does success look like in 3 to 5 years? Who's the winner in this space?
If I had to bet, Scout AI becomes the de facto orchestration layer for autonomous warfare. The question is whether they get acquired by a Lockheed or Raytheon at some point, or whether they stay independent and become the next defense tech giant in their own right. At $100 million, they're essentially buying themselves a seat at that table. Either way, the capital has spoken. The future of defense is software first, and the reasoning layer is where the margins and the power are.
I'll add to that. The technical question that keeps me up at night is what happens when two AI-driven forces clash. Not human versus machine, but AI versus AI. You can simulate all you want, but when the enemy is actively jamming your multi-agent network with their own AI countermeasures, how does Fury handle adversarial dynamic generation in real time? That's the frontier they need to push with this funding. It's not just scaling what they have. It's building the next generation of reinforcement learning that can survive an algorithmic arms race.
That's a sobering thought. All right, let's do a quick lightning round. Quick fire questions, quick answers. Vivian, Nolan, ready? First question. What's the most underrated part of Scout's pitch deck?
The 3-4-person team. That's what gets me. Smaller than most Series A startups, already delivering real DoD contracts. That's efficiency most VCs dream about.
The edge-native compression. Everyone talks about the multi-agent orchestration, but the fact that they can run a foundation model on constrained edge hardware without losing reasoning capability, that's actually the harder engineering problem.
Second biggest risk factor, not the obvious one?
Talent drain. They need to poach the absolute best Silicon Valley engineers to stay ahead, and defense salaries versus commercial AI salaries is a constant battle.
The regulatory unknown. What happens when an autonomous swarm makes a mistake? The legal framework doesn't exist yet, and that could slow them down fast.
Third hot take. Anduril should be worried?
Not yet, but they should be paying attention. Anduril is hardware first, Scout is software first. In the long run, whoever owns the brain has more leverage than whoever makes the body.
I'd say Anduril should be scared of becoming the Nokia of defense. Great hardware, but someone else controls the operating system.
Fourth, if you had to invest in one Scout competitor right now, who?
Honestly, I don't see a direct competitor yet. That's what makes this round so unique. They're writing a new category.
I'd look at any team doing edge AI for robotics. Not necessarily defense-specific. The core technology is transferable.
Last one in one word. Describe the future of warfare.
Algorithmic.
Distributed.
Perfect. Okay, let's wrap up. Vivian, give us a one-sentence summary of what Scout AI represents for the defense tech landscape.
Scout AI is proof that the defense sector has fully embraced the software eating the world thesis, and the next trillion-dollar military-industrial winners will be built on pure AI reasoning layers, not steel foundries.
Nolan, your one-sentence take.
They're building the windows of warfare, and the real question isn't whether their tech works. It's whether they can survive the algorithmic arms race when two AI brains start fighting each other on the battlefield.
Love it. Thanks both of you for the hardcore breakdown. For all of you out there, that's today's Product X. If you want to stay ahead of the curve on defense tech, and the capital flows shaping the future, hit like and subscribe. We'll see you tomorrow.